Hello everyone, welcome back to another Warhammer 40k reaction video. You know, the Super Bowl gave us a lot. Some are good, some are bad, and some were ugly. But one of the most highlight reel was the halftime of Bad Bunny. And today we're gonna be reacting to the Crimson Fist. Yes sir, the Warhammer 40k Latino Heat. You guys enjoy this, please leave a like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment if you want to see something. Also, I will be doing a special reaction of something that, I was wanting to do, but that'll be later on. So, without further ado, let's do this.
G'day guys and gal. It's been a while since I've shined a light on a particular Space Marine chapter, and I'd honestly thought I'd already covered all the good ones that have more than one small wiki page of lore. But there's a few hidden gems that I've avoided my Eye of Sauron. Underrated chapters with rich, interesting lore, and plenty of badass moments. The Crimson Fists are one of these chapters.
Oh
In
hell
the
yeah.
second founding chapter,
Dude, that
these
shit
Sons of
goes
Dawn have
hard. Look
existed
at that.
for over 10,000 years, being created at the same time as various other legendary chapters, such as the Black Templars. Whilst they might look like and occasionally act like duller Ultramarines who just fisted their woman on the wrong time of the month, the
Oh
Crimson
Jesus.
Fists have earned their own legend, and they also have incredibly dope-ass artworks.
Oh yep.
Before we get started, with the pandemic hopefully wrapping up,
Oh, this was from the
Australia's
pandemic.
international
Okay.
borders opening up,
Oh.
and a sense of freedom emerging, you might not think you need a VPN. But that's where you'd be
Uh-oh.
sadly mistaking. Introducing
No,
February
VPN.
Surfshark
Oh, never mind.
sponsorship,
Shock
aka
okay.
the longest running sponsor of this
Surfshark,
channel.
never mind.
I really don't know why they keep renewing my contract. A VPN, for the three of you that probably haven't heard of one, is a software that allows you to access the internet of other countries. Why do you want access to the internet of other countries? Because life isn't fair. Shitty licensing deals make streaming services for some countries, like Australia.
Damn, Netflix US has a gradually library of 5,500 plus titles, but Australian can only access to around 38%. Wow, capitalism, cool. Also,
Vastly
that
inferior
pause.
to others. A VPN also masks your IP, so if you're worried about your internet security while you're browsing, a VPN will protect your identity as you browse the more questionable parts of the internet. So why choose Surfshark over the other VPNs? Well, firstly, they put up with my shit. And their interface is incredibly easy to use, like one click and bang, you're in. On top of that, Surfshark is offering a massive 83% off and 3 months free if you use my link and code below. And if for some unfathomable reason you're unsatisfied, then Surfshark offers a 30-day money-back guarantee. Cheers to Surfshark for sponsoring this video. Today we'll go over the history of the Crimson Fists, highlighting their special characters, key moments, and interesting snippets of lore, before wrapping up with what they're currently up to. Let's get into it.
Alright, let's go.
To set the scene, Horus has just caused the mother of all ruckuses. Many Primarchs are dead, legions have been shattered, and the Emperor is now a big-ass lithium-ion battery. Rogel Dawn, the Emperor's most stoic son, the Primarch with the greatest will of them all, has finally broken after carrying his father's corpse to his golden prison.
Yeah, this guy had the most trauma.
Ways and become incredibly divided. Some of them weaponized their autism and call for vengeance. These fists became the Black Templars, led by the legendary Sigismund. Other fists maintain their yellow armor and continue to follow their Primarch, whilst others got all weird and painted their armor purple and kinda got a bit heretical later on, like the Soul Drinkers. As you can see, a lot of mental instability happening here. There was another new chapter though, one that looked at its brother chapters and thought they had gotten a bit too full on and needed to take a bit of a chill pill. These were the Crimson Fists, led by the extremely large and level-headed Alexis Pollux. Alexis was a legend. Although not as flashy as Sigismund, Alexis beat and nearly had Perturabo killed in a spaceship battle.
Really?
Impressed the loyalist Primarchs time and time again.
I bet your Perturabo was fucking paranoid after that. Holy shit. Damn, whatever happened to him?
Before we continue with the old history lesson, why were they called the Crimson Fists, and what's up with their ultramarine vibe?
Yeah.
Well, the Imperial Fist captains used to do that thing where they would cut their hand and then handshake their Primarch. This was done because A, it's cool,
Oh shit.
and B, having their Primarch's raw blood mixing with their own gave them a cheeky little power boost.
I
To
mean,
honor this tradition and to remind the
fair
audience
deal.
that they weren't an ultramarine successor chapter, the Crimson Fists adopted this as their name, logo, and they literally paint one or two of their hands red depending on their rank. Their blue armor represents the fact that out of all the Imperial Fist successors, they were the ones that didn't see the newly written Codex Astartes, which was a book written by Gilliman on how not to be a fuckwit, as little more than toilet paper. The
Oh
Crimson
shit.
Fist could be summed up by calling them a mix between Ultramarine and Imperial Fist. With a level head, young recruits, and a girthy Alexis at the helm, the Crimson Fist took part in the scouring, cleansing the Imperium of the traitorous filth that nearly brought them low. From there, the new chapter achieved victory after victory, a notable one being crushing the Exodite Elder on Urulek Prime, allowing the planet to flourish into a key Imperial world. Once again, as cool as Space Cells riding dinosaurs is, they don't seem to do too hot against orbital bombardment and devastator squads.
Yeah, the Elder always getting shit on so many times. Like, and you know, it's just so strange, really, because you know, in Lord of the Rings, they made the elves like so like popular, and everyone else when they use any elf character, they just they just they throw it to the garbage. It might be me, but from my perspective, I just see that every time.
Who knew? Alexis would go on to lead his chapter for 8 centuries, bringing them honor and glory, before he was finally cut down when an alien managed to spit venom at his head. Despite that,
Oh,
Alexis was able to survive for days due to sheer force of will, uncovering the methods on how to defeat the Xeno and passing on these orders before he finally died a hero. Alexis is so revered that even 10,000 years later, the Crimson Fist refer to him as Big Daddy Pollux. The chapter would then be led by Chapter Master Quaestra for a time.
rest
Don't
in
worry if you
peace.
haven't heard about him. He has no real lore beyond getting absolutely fucking splattered during the War of the Beast, which was a random period of time after the Horus Heresy where the Orcs became extremely powerful, Vulcan reappeared, then died again, and the entire Imperial Fist chapter went extinct and had to be rebuilt from Gene Seed taking from its successors.
Yeah, I've heard that the War of the Beast is one of the most confusing clusterfuck stories of all time. I've heard it like even like when I was researching them, I was like, "Oh, Water Beast, that sounds cool." Like the whole orcs go after the Imperium, but turns out through my research, everyone say that this was like a complete shit show. So I'm not sure if you guys want me to cover it or react to it, but yeah, even I'm still stumbled. What the fuck is going on?
During the Age of Apostasy,
Oh wait, a second.
the Crimson Fists led the Crusade of Righteous Liberation, where they basically cleaned up and retook 84 worlds that had fallen to anarchy during the reign of that dick Georges Van Dyer. Due to the fact that they were a fleet-based chapter, as well as the fact that they didn't replenish any of their numbers during the entire crusade, only 128 astartes remained by the time their bloody work was done. That's a
Damn.
nearly 90% reduction in chapter numbers, but considering they took 84 worlds, that's a pretty solid effort. The Crimson Fists would prove themselves reliable and capable time and time again, defending worlds from various Xenos, mostly Orcs and Eldar. They were chosen as one of the most pure and reliable chapters, so much so that the High Lords of Terror and even the Inquisition would reach out to them for aid whenever they needed to put down a
Oh
renegade
shit, that's
chapter.
an honor.
This was a huge compliment,
Yeah.
as the Imperium always gets nervous about chapters that were born loyalist but later became renegade.
Mm-hmm.
Sending an unreliable chapter to deal with renegades might result in that chapter getting corrupted as well, but not the red and blue boys. After various victories over the Orcs in the Loki sector, the Crimson Fists were finally given their own home planet as a thank you. Rin's
Oh,
World
that's
it was
nice.
called, and it was actually quite nice. The Crimson Fists were pretty stoked about it. The Crimson Fists also gained a lot of reputation amongst the Orcs. Even for Space Marines, they were unusually good at killing the Greenskins.
I
Their
can tell.
Codex chapter master Pedro Kantor is a living legend, having led his battle brothers to numerous triumphs over the fungal menace. Many Orcs rose to challenge the Fists, and many failed, but not all. See, there was this angry war boss called Snagrod that kinda came out of nowhere and massacred an Imperial planet. Feeling pretty stoked about himself, he then declared he would attack Rin's world next and bring the legendary Crimson Fists to their knees. This was a foolish declaration. The Crimson Fists were at full strength, and they had time to prepare. They had inherited supreme fortification abilities from their
By the way, I'm sorry I'm pausing it, but dude, how badass would it be to have like two hand wielding blasters? That would be awesome. But I'm just saying that. But yeah, the Crimson Fists are basically like I just picture them as Superman because I think he will mention this in the video, but they really it's very interesting because they are the successors to one of the most like artistic chapters of all time. I mean, and it's just very interesting to know that each chapter has a unique I say variety, and that's make them so like more interesting to study. So I just want to leave that out.
Gene Father, and they seemingly had the plot armor of Ultramarines. It was pretty much a guaranteed victory for the Loyalists until something really fucking retarded happened. The Crimson Fists accidentally nuked their own fortress monastery as the Orcs were
What?
invading. This destroyed the monastery, killed
How the
600
fuck did that
Marines, which
happen?
was over half the entire chapter, and it forced the survivors led by Pedro to cross the planet.
That's some like Lamentar shit. Jesus Christ, was there a Lamentar in that fight? Lamentar. Okay, why do I sound like that's like a new slur? Lamentar. Okay.
Fighting tooth and nail the
Lamentus.
entire
Lament.
time,
Oh my
losing
dumbass.
astartes the entire time to reach the world's capital city. Although they began the war with over 1,000 Marines, by the time they had reached the city and could prepare to actually fight, they were down 80% of their entire chapter. Bruh.
Jesus.
Despite this, they were able to hold off the Orc army for 18 months until it finally
Wow.
fell due to an overwhelming amount of Orc gargants.
That's
As
what
it
I call
fell, Imperial
determination
reinforcements arrived and saved the day. Only about 100
and
Crimson Fists still
unyielding as
lived,
well.
but here's the kicker. Snargrod's war wasn't even close to being done, hence Pedro
Oh
and his
shit.
few remaining warriors led the war effort in cleansing the entire world of Orc taint, losing even more battle brothers in the process. Their numbers got so low that it looked as if the Crimson Fist would disband and be absorbed by other Imperial Fist successors. But if there is one thing Pedro and his chapter are known for, it's never giving up. Hence the
Yep,
Crimson
damn
Fist
sure.
rebuilt their forces to continue their glorious purpose. The Crimson Fists were a generic force used to fight generic enemies. I don't mean that in a negative way, that's just kind of how it was. They didn't use any particularly wild or fancy tactics, and their gene seed didn't do any weird fucky shit. As such, they were perfect when it came to fighting Eldar and Orcs, but they seem to have been kept away from more unique enemies, such as the Necrons, Dark Eldar, or Tyranids. In recent times, they've fought more and more against Chaos, as the threat of the ruinous powers have increased, and they've done a good job of it, seemingly winning nearly all of their encounters with Hell that they've had so far. So what is Pedro and his Crimson Fist up to in the current setting? Since Gilliman's resurrection? Well, just as they had rebuilt their chapter, Cadia fell and the galaxy shat the bed. A fuck-off huge demonic horde invaded
Rest in peace, Cadia.
Rin's world and basically undid all the progress Pedro had done for the last few hundred years and killed most of his chapter.
Jesus
Despite his
Christ.
best efforts, and boy did he put in a hell of a fight, his world was doomed. Until it fucking wasn't. Gilliman charged in at the last moment like Space Rohan and he destroyed the demonic legions. He then told Pedro that his father would have been proud of him, which was actually very wholesome.
Aww.
Pedro was then given Primaris reinforcements, which fixed all these issues and brought the Crimson Fist back to fighting strength. The first thing Pedro did with his new invigorated chapter was to taunt the nearby Orc Wars, and he told them that he would fuck them all up. Fair enough, Pedro doesn't like Orcs. The Crimson
I could
Fists
tell.
were last seen fighting in the War of the Beasts, being instrumental in the defense of Vigilus, which is a very important world, massacring Orcs, Gene Stealers, and other
Okay, quick question. Did Pedro took the Primaris Rubicon surgery? Because is this like official or this is fan art? Because if it's official, then he must be very more powerful than before. And I can't wait to see like what new weapons is he gonna use? Like is he gonna wield double power fisted you know Gatling gauntlets? Or is it just gonna be the similar shit? Because I mean come on, give the guy some upgrades.
desirables. I want to note that even though the Crimson Fists have spent quite a lot of time at only 10% chapter size due to various wars and unfortunate self-nukings, they never sat idle to recover their numbers.
Really?
Even as they rebuilt their chapter, Pedro would take elite small strike teams to war zones to achieve subtle but important objectives. For example, there was this fearsome Kornite warlord who invaded a planet with a huge-ass army. At the height of his power, the Kornite army numbered in the billions. The Crimson
Damn.
Fist squad of 30 Marines went around the world, destabilizing the planet's thermal macro reactors. By the time their mission was complete and they withdrew, only 10 of them had died. However, when the thermal reactors went kaput, the resulting firestorm killed 86% of the Kornite army and left the rest in disarray.
You know, I'm seeing a trend here. They have like numbers, and they just just get deleted instantly. Like I'm just sensing a trend here.
Not exactly Khorne's ideal format for bloodshed. With only a small portion of the Khornite forces left, the Mechanicus swoops in, massacres them like dogs, and easily takes the planet, all thanks to 30 Crimson Fists.
Wow.
When I said the Crimson Fists were a bit vanilla before, I want to clarify. They do have a unique and interesting mentality and attitude. Sure, they are incredibly duty-driven, never disobeying orders given to them by the Imperium, but they also have a strong moral compass, and they don't relish their more distasteful deeds. When they had to put down a renegade chapter, the Marine Vigilant, who, due to Xeno exposure, refused to fight anyone, the Crimson Fists were disturbed and they were upset by the culling they undertook. Likewise, Pedro has faced numerous hard decisions, where he's had to choose between doing his duty or doing what is
I could
right.
imagine.
They aren't like the Minotaurs, who are the ruthless, obedient attack dogs of the High Lords, nor are they the Space Wolves, who only do what they believe is right. They're stuck somewhere in the middle, and I, for one, am keen to see what Pedro and his red...
Dude, and then the artwork is fucking amazing. Like, these guys have one of the most badass artworks ever. And yeah, it's very sad that they don't get much more like more stories, because they're very interesting. It shows like one of the chapters that have humanity in there. I mean, it doesn't look like he's gonna like explain it, but there was a time where Pedro was saw a mother and his child, and the mother just collapsed because she just her body just quit. And so Pedro just carried her like a little baby and told them that you have done your job well. Now it's time for someone to carry you. Now, it's not one. Now that quote wasn't 1-to-1, but it's very like it hits you like in the chest, knowing that despite like everything that the Space Marines gone through, like despite the re-engineering, the mental, the mental like struggle, and the harsh belief, they are still having humanity inside them, which is awesome.
handed brothers do next. If you enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, then Patreon is the place to be.
Oh.
Only $1 per month give you access to a boatload of hentai. Hit the subscribe button and hit
Oh,
the
so
red
this
subscribe
was the
button
time
for
when
more
he
bloody
was
handed
selling some
content.
hentai.
Join the Discord for more memes and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.
Yeah, I guess that was it. Yeah, it was pretty good. Knowing more about the Crimson Fist. First of all, these guys, they will never surrender. No matter how many losses or the odds, they will always fight back, which I really appreciate. And it's pretty interesting. It just the Imperial Fists are like one of the most dedicated to the Imperium. That's why they were, I suppose one of the chapters that they are good with the custodians. And it's just cool to know that once again they just have humanity. Oh, give us some, dude. Come on. So yeah, I guess that's all really to say. They're pretty cool, and I really hope they get more, shine in the spotlight. So thank you so much for reacting to my reaction. I will leave a link to the description down below, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.